Lancelot, the shadowed knight. The death of one man is a tragedy. The death of many becomes the language of war. Lancelot understood this truth better than most, for his entire life had been shaped by it. And yet, though he had walked battlefields drenched in blood, though he had carved victory after victory into the annals of forgotten wars, he remained, at his core, a man who sought something beyond the sword. This paradox, warrior and dreamer, cynic and believer, defined the heart of Lancelot. It was what set him apart not only from Arthur but from every knight who rode at his side. The winter before the final reckoning was cruel, biting, and endless. The land itself seemed to wither under the weight of frost, as though nature mourned the countless dead who had fallen to Roman ambition. For the knights, each day was both a gift and a curse. A gift because they still breathed, a curse because Rome's promise of freedom remained unfulfilled. Lancelot counted the years like tally marks carved into stone. 15 years of service, 15 years of blood. He had given everything, and still the chains rattled. His laughter, sharp and mocking, often broke the silence of their camps, a sound that masked both defiance and exhaustion. Freedom, he once told Galahad, is a word Rome dangles like meat before starving hounds. We chase it, we kill for it, and in the end, it tastes like ash. Yet even in his bitterness, he remained loyal. When Arthur called, Lancelot answered, not because of Rome, but because of a bond far stronger than any empire could forge. He and Arthur had long since ceased being master and servant. They were brothers, bound by years of shared blood and fire. Arthur, with his unwavering faith, often infuriated Lancelot. How could a man believe so wholly in ideals when the world proved them false at every turn? And yet, Arthur's very conviction was the anchor that kept the others from drifting into despair. The mission to rescue the Roman family trapped beyond Hadrian's Wall was perhaps the moment when Lancelot's doubts clashed most violently with Arthur's sense of duty. Why risk everything for people who would abandon us at a heartbeat? He demanded, his voice edged with anger. Arthur, calm yet resolute, answered with the same conviction he always carried. Because it is the right thing to do. Lancelot cursed, but he rode nonetheless. For all his defiance, he could never turn his back on Arthur. And so they marched north into the icy grasp of Britain, where the Saxons waited like wolves circling prey. The journey was a gauntlet of survival. The frozen rivers cracked beneath their horses' hooves, and the winds cut like knives against exposed skin. Yet through it all, Lancelot never faltered. His twin blades remained ever ready, his eyes scanning the tree-line for signs of ambush. When the Saxons struck, as they inevitably did, Lancelot's fury was unleashed in full. He fought not like a soldier bound by formation but like a spirit of death itself, weaving between foes with speed and precision that left even seasoned warriors trembling. The rescue itself brought them into the depths of cruelty. The Roman household they sought to save was not merely a family but a symbol of everything Rome had wrought upon the land: privilege, oppression, and indifference. And yet within that household, something unexpected stirred. Guinevere. She was no helpless maiden but a prisoner of Rome's cruelty, chained not just in body but in silence. When freed, she revealed her true self, a warrior of the Britons, fierce, unyielding, and proud. Lancelot regarded her with both admiration and suspicion. He saw in her a reflection of Arthur's ideals: freedom, justice, a new order, and he feared what that reflection might cost. Love, in times of war, was a dangerous thing, and yet he could not deny the fire in her spirit. Arthur, of course, was captivated. Guinevere's presence seemed to breathe life into the noble dreams Arthur carried. To Lancelot, this was both inspiring and troubling. He could not deny the rightness of their connection, yet he also feared it would pull Arthur further into battles that could not be won. Love is a fine thing, Lancelot once muttered to Bors with a wry grin, but it makes fools of even the wisest men. The Saxons did not relent. They pressed harder, each encounter bloodier than the last. At the river, where icy waters raged and death lurked in every shadow, the knights fought a battle that seemed destined to break them. Outnumbered, encircled, They fought with every ounce of strength left in their bodies. Lancelot, in the thick of it, became a whirlwind of steel, his twin swords carving paths through men and shield walls alike. He killed not for Rome, not even for himself, but for the men at his side. For Arthur. For the Brotherhood. In the aftermath, when the dead lay scattered and the survivors staggered from the carnage, Lancelot sat in silence by the fire. His blades, still stained with blood, rested beside him. He stared into the flames, his thoughts heavy. How many more battles? How many more deaths? And for what? Freedom, yes, but freedom seemed more distant now than ever. He could not shake the feeling that his fate was already sealed, that destiny had marked him for an end he could not escape. Arthur noticed the weight upon him, though he said little. Their friendship was not one of constant words but of unspoken understanding. Arthur carried the hope. Lancelot carried the burden of doubt. Together, they balanced one another, even in silence. The days led them inexorably to Badon Hill. There, the Saxon horde gathered, vast and merciless. Cerdic and Cynric commanded thousands, and their eyes burned with the fire of conquest. To face them was to face death itself. Arthur, however, saw something else. He saw destiny. He saw the chance to unite Britons and Sarmatians, to carve a future not bound by Rome but by their own hands. When Arthur spoke before the battle, his words rang with conviction. This is not Rome's war. This is our war. For freedom, for our land, for our people. The Britons, inspired, rallied to him. The knights, though weary and broken, stood at his side. And Lancelot, though ever the skeptic, found himself moved despite his doubts. Perhaps this was the moment that justified all the years of pain. Perhaps this was the battle that would define not only Arthur's fate but his own. The night before the clash, Lancelot wandered alone across the frostbitten field. He gazed at the stars, their cold light unblinking, and whispered to himself words no one else would ever hear. He spoke of freedom, of longing, of the fear that gnawed at him. He confessed that he was not ready to die, though he felt death's breath upon his neck. And yet, he also confessed that if death came, he would meet it not with fear but with defiance. For such was his nature. Never to bow, never to yield. When dawn came, the earth trembled beneath the Saxon advance. Their war cries filled the valley, a tide of fury crashing against the resolve of Arthur's forces. The knights tightened their grips on their weapons, their eyes fixed on the coming storm. Arthur rode at the front, Excalibur gleaming in the pale light, and beside him, as always, was Lancelot. The battle erupted like thunder. Arrows blackened the sky, shields splintered, steel clashed with steel. Amid the chaos, Lancelot was everywhere. A shadow that struck and vanished, a storm that never ceased. He cut down Saxon warriors with grace and fury, his blades singing their deadly song. Blood spattered his armor, yet he pressed on, unrelenting. To friend and foe alike, he was a vision of war incarnate. But destiny is merciless. In the heart of the battle, as he drove his swords into the ranks of enemies, a spear thrust forward, piercing his body. The pain was searing, but Lancelot did not falter. With defiance burning in his eyes, he struck down the man who had wounded him, then another and another still. Only when his strength finally gave way did he stagger, his knees buckling beneath him. As he fell, he saw Arthur in the distance, leading their forces with the fire of a king. He saw Guinevere, fighting with the courage of a warrior queen. And he saw his brothers still standing, still fighting. Relief washed over him. They would live. Arthur's dream would endure. That was enough. His last breath was a whisper, lost in the roar of battle, "Arthur!" And then the twilight night fell. His spirit released into the cold air. His body laid upon the soil he had bled to protect. Yet his death was not an end. For though his body lay still, his legacy lived on. He became a part of Arthur's legend, a name carried in the songs of freedom, a spirit remembered whenever courage was tested. Lancelot was no saint, no flawless hero. He was doubt, he was fire, he was humanity itself. And in that, he was eternal.